What did Kirby Smart just say about Arch Manning and the Texas Longhorns? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Of course, Kirby Smart spoke with reporters earlier this week talking about his relationship with Steve Sarkisian, Arch Manning, that recruitment, what led them to pushing hard for Arch Manning, who did choose Texas over Georgia during his recruitment. He talked about a lot of his players as well, guys who step up and played well against Mississippi State. He talked about the latest injury update. Of course, you could read all of this and more over on dawgpost.com, so make sure you're checking that out. But I definitely wanted to jump on here and give my thoughts on Kirby Smart's thoughts on the Texas Longhorns, who are ranked number 10 in the country. They have losses to Ohio State, 14-7 in week one. They also lost to the Florida Gators, which is really hard to wrap your mind around. We're going to talk about that and more. But when Kirby Smart addressed the media, first question was asked about Steve Sarkisian, and he did the basic coach speak thing, right? They have a good relationship. He's proud of Steve and what he's been able to build at Texas. There's a lot of mutual respect. They're good friends. They've known each other for a long, long time. So he kept it pretty simple there. Of course, he was asked about Arch Manning right after that. Here's what he had to say about Texas's quarterback. He said, quote, "He's playing with more confidence right now than he was earlier this season. I think, number one, he's getting better protection. He's seeing things well. He's making good decisions. He's getting the ball out of his hand quickly. He's maturing. He's had an opportunity to play and grow, and you don't really get to do that until you go out there and play." He said, "I watched yesterday. I went through all of his games, and I've seen him grow and play better and better. He's extending plays. He's scrambling well. He keeps his eyes down the field. He doesn't look at the rush. He's made some really impressive wow throws, and they're playing better offensively." So we're going to talk about Arch Manning real quick because he is a big, talented kid with a big arm, still learning how to play quarterback. He's got the physical tools, and there's a reason he was a five-star prospect, number one player in the country. There's a reason why Georgia really liked him and pushed hard for him in that 2023 class. But let's go over how he's been so far this year. He was not great against Texas in that loss. He only threw for 55% completion percentage, 262 yards, and 2 touchdowns with 2 interceptions. He was sacked 6 times against the Gators. 6 sacks, way too many against a defense that is basically completely average in the SEC. It's not a great defense. It's fine. They should not be sacking anybody 6 times, but Arch Manning got hit to the ground by the Gator defense 6 times. Just something to keep in mind. He had a really tough time against that Oklahoma defense. They know how to get to the quarterback too, but they only sacked him 1 time. He threw for just 166 yards and 1 touchdown. They did beat Oklahoma, unless I'm going crazy. I don't have that score in front of me, but I do remember them beating them by like double digits. So he didn't exactly play winning football, but in a way, I guess he did. He was just sacked 1 time against Oklahoma, which is halfway impressive. They really get after the quarterback. He was bad against Kentucky. A lot of quarterbacks are when you go to Lexington. Stetson Bennett didn't look all that great up there either. 12 for 27, 132 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. They escaped that one, but he was not good in that game. Against Mississippi State, he was strong, 346 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, but he was sacked 5 times against that Mississippi State defense that barely hit Gunnar Stockton all day long. They hit him afterwards and got some pressure, but they didn't really affect him. They affected Arch Manning in the backfield 5 times. Against Vandy, that was his best performance. 328 yards, 3 touchdowns, 75% completion rate. Vandy did give up 30 points to Alabama, 24 to a bad LSU offense, and 45 against Auburn. They were strong against Missouri, but that's not the best defense. But Arch Manning did play really well. So he's coming on. He is playing better. He's always had the physical tools. He's always had the talent, but he's still learning how to play quarterback, and I think it's going to be really tough for him in that environment in Athens, Georgia, against a defense that is gaining more and more confidence. He was also, Kirby Smart was also asked about his recruitment and how they, tried to sell Georgia to Arch Manning. Here's what he had to say. But first, I want to plug Sales Hatch. Listen, if you've led sales teams before, you know the toughest part isn't exactly closing the deal. It's just getting your foot in the door. And Sales Hatch can help you do that. They can help you get your foot in the door with other businesses. They can help you, send those emails and reach out to other people to make it easier for you. So if you're a small business owner looking to work with other businesses, if you're in sales, you're looking for new clients, Sales Hatch can help you out. So so make sure you're checking them out. They're based out of Roswell, Georgia. They've helped us out a ton. Make sure you're checking out Sales Hatch. They can help you in a lot of different ways. Here's what Kirby Smart had to say about the recruitment of Arch Manning. He said, quote, his recruitment was based on his athleticism. He's fast, he's tall, he's intelligent, he's got composure, he's got a really strong arm. He can do it all. He can run the ball, he can throw the ball. And in this day and age, you've got to have a quarterback that can do both, and he can. I think he's got great composure. He's not really affected by many things. However, he's got to grow and get better, and I think Sark's done a good job of bringing him up and allowing him to develop and get better. So it's still some coach speak, but he is a big, talented kid. He's just still working on playing the position and the decision making, and I think it's taking some time. Obviously, it's tough to play on the SEC, especially in your first year. Gunnar Stockton's been able to do it pretty well. Arch Manning's still learning, but his best football is still way ahead of him. He said, quote, he came over here to Athens a lot. He was very honest and had his thoughts about both programs. He liked both programs. He had to pick one, and he picked Texas. There was no sales pitch from us. So, of course, he likes Arch Manning clearly, but this Texas team is built by their defense. They have a really, really strong defense, especially against the run. Kirby Smart was asked about that. But before we get into his comments, let's just talk real quick about that Texas run defense. They're second best in the country against the run. They're just giving up 78.7 yards a game. However, only one SEC opponent that they've played is in the top 5 in rushing in the league, and that's Vanderbilt. Florida is towards the bottom of the SEC in rushing. Oklahoma, I think, is below average in the SEC in rushing. Mississippi State the same way. The only good rushing attack they've seen all year was Vanderbilt. And then they gave up, 30-something points, right? So they're not playing against these high-powered rushing attacks, and I think that has gone a little bit. You can see that in the numbers. They're the second best scoring defense in the SEC, giving up just 16.4 points per game. They've got guys. They're loaded with talent. Everyone's a high 4-star or a 5-star. Okay, so the talent is absolutely there. And then he was also asked, or here are his comments on the run defense. He said they were really effective in that area last year. They're built on the line of scrimmage. They're built to be physical. They fit things really well. They do a good job, or their defensive staff does a really nice job. They're very disruptive as a team. They create turnovers, some we'll talk about in just a second. They're aggressive. They've got good players. At the end of the day, they have big, physical, good players on the line of scrimmage, which allows you to stop the run. Here's what he had to say about the Texas pass rush, which consists of Colin Simmons, who has 8 sacks this season already, Anthony Hill Jr., another former 5-star. He's got 4 sacks. Ethan Burke, Trey Moore, and Brad Spence, all linebackers, have 3 sacks. Kirby said they're tremendous, talking about those Longhorn pass rushers. They have great effort guys. They rush really hard. They're leaders. They've got stars all over their defense. They're very talented. When you watch that defense play, they play really hard. They get after the quarterback. They disguise things well, and they're very disruptive. They have a lot of challenges when it comes to dropping back, throwing the ball, and trying to run the ball. They give you challenges. That's what I meant to say. When you want to be balanced, they're really good at making you not balanced. They have 34 sacks collectively as a defense that is tied for first in the SEC with Texas A&M, one more than Oklahoma. They've got 9 interceptions, which is top 6 in the conference. They have 11 forced fumbles. They're just really active, and they play hard to the football. They make plays. They've got a lot of playmakers, and they force turnovers. They create turnovers. They're just a really talented group, but again, they make a lot of plays. Going back to the offense, Kirby Smart was asked about some of the similarities that Steve Sarkisian has used in his offense year after year. He said, quote, they're explosive. They attack. They've got a lot of window dressing. They've got a lot of shifts and motions. They employ tempo, and they'll go fast on you. They do a really good job of mixing things up and creating a lot to work with defensively. So, again, you're not going to find many rosters across college football that have the same amount of talent as Texas. They are completely disappointing this year. They just are. They shouldn't be in overtime games against Kentucky. They shouldn't be losing to Florida. They shouldn't be down 17 in the fourth quarter against Mississippi State. I know they came back and won, but this team they're not supposed to be doing that. So we've seen a lot of chinks in the so-called armor that Texas has. They're They are extremely talented, but they're not exactly playing terrific football. They're ranked number 10 right now. They're going to have to play really, really well to beat this Georgia team. They're going to have to do it on the road at night in a very, very tough environment. I've got my doubts, but I expect them to come and play as well as they possibly can. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy for Arch. That Texas defense, as good as they are against the run, I'm not sure they have. I mean, they've gone up against Ohio State and Vandy. Those are the only two rushing attacks that can compare to what Georgia is going to bring to the table Saturday night. So we're going to talk more about this game throughout the week. Of course, you can read more about Kirby Smart's comments for free over on dawgpost.com. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. I'll see you over on the website.